Hey, this is Tilak. Welcome back to Fast Formula tutorial. Today we are going to look into one of the most important concept that called parent-child fast formula. I don't think officially they call it parent-child. They call it formula as calling it a fast formula. It is for my convenience, I'm calling it parent-child. Let's see what the documentation says about formula calling other formula. Instead of writing large formulas, common calculation can be put into their own smaller formulas. These calculation formulas can then be called from other formulas that need the calculation. When we are programming, we normally separate the routine. Whenever a piece of code or a functionality is used again and again, we put them into a separate method or a function or a file, then we call them again and again. Okay, that is the definition they are giving it for a parent-child fast formula, or I can say the usages they are giving it. Yes, it can be used like that. But there are two other places I've seen it is most needed functionality. Well, when an organization deals with, or when an organization has more than one LDGs, or the employees from different legislations, and if you are processing them together, then probably you need to, and you are also using a fast formula. In this case, you have to use people from different LDG, then you end up writing one common formula and a different formula for different LDGs. Especially when you are using a DBAs from past payrolls, you end up separating them. In a second case, if you need to use DBAs that has some context that is not supported by your own formula type. The example a simple example I can give you is a formula type from compensation and a DBA from benefit. Most of the DBA from benefit supports or uses business group ID context, but compensation does not support it. Now you want to use that DBA to get the value. You cannot use that DBA in compensation because business group ID is not supported. Now, what you can do, you can create one more formula using the type that supports business group ID. Then you can set the context when you are calling that child. So that's the other case, but there's no workaround for this. This is how you have to call it. Okay, before we get into detail, let's see how that legislation plays a role in fast formula, or how fast formula uses the legislation. Now, I'm going to create a two formula, one by one. And in this both the formula, I'm going to use the DBA from element entry values. You know that the element entries are based on legislative data group. So basically, I'm going to use a DBA that is from a payroll and a legislative LDG based. Now see how it acts. The one formula I'm going to create without LDG, one formula I'm going to create the same LDG of the DBA. Now you can see that how it how that LDG play a role in creating a fast formula. I'm going to create a formula called TCS Trust LDG. No LDG, I put it as a no LDG. Type is compensation person selection. I'm going for that. 2000. Continue. Default for -1. Value same DBA. Return L value. Okay. I'm saving it, submitting it, I'm compiling it. Okay, this error. Let's see. It says the syntax error in that character person 60 word. Okay, sorry. There was a syntax error. I'll fix the syntax error. Is -1 default for. Save it, submitting it, compiling it. Okay, error. See that. The local variable was used before being initialized. This is one of the common mistake when it is not able to recognize that the DBA or input values or anything. So basically, this formula cannot recognize this DBA. That's the reason it says that this is not, like this is the line number 2, this is not initialized. That's what it says. Okay, now what I do here, I'm copying this formula, keep it as it is. I'm going back. Okay, I sorry, okay, I don't know why it is there. Okay, okay, this one I'm deleting it. I don't want that. I'll try to put the same name, TCS test, no LDG. Okay, I'll create the same name with the LDG. Okay, TCS test. I'll put LDG. Okay, and type is compensation person selection. Same type, same date. Okay, legislative group. I use select United States. So like so, yeah, I'm taking it. Okay, I'm saving it, submitting it, compiling it. Okay, this is compiled file. Okay. If you are using any information from payroll, because payroll definition is based on LDG. So any information, any DBA, anything you are using in a fast formula from payroll, the formula has to be defined with LDG. Okay. We also see now how the names, like the name uniqueness plays a role with legislation, or how the unique name is validated when the LDG is used in the fast formula. In this demo, I'll show you how the name uniqueness maintained. Okay. If you are having a formula without LDG, the uniqueness is maintained across that fast formula applications. Okay, that is within the business group, but assume that it is basically across the global level is maintained. But if you are creating a LDG specific formula that uniqueness is maintained along with the LDG. So now what happens is you can create a same formula name in different LDG. Okay, that's what I'm going to show it now. I'm going to create a two formula with the same name in a different LDGs. Right. I say TCS test FF. I just copy the formula, type. You can have the type compensation person selection will go again the same thing. Okay, 2000. Continue. Sorry, I made a mistake. I'll go back. Okay, I'm creating it again. Putting a name. Compensation person selection. Compensation person selection. Date 2000. LDG, I'm taking it. GB something, I'll take it. Okay, I'm taking a United States here. Continue. Okay. Well, return. Well, okay. Well, sorry. Okay. And save. Submit. Compile. I hope this goes in the first time itself. I can't believe. No, it happened. Sometimes it happens, like, you know. Okay. 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 If I do that, you won't get it. But here also, if you select with that, whenever you are doing with that, you have to choose with the LDG. It is coming here. Okay. I create a one more. Okay. And I go for same type compensation person selection. Compensation person selection. Same date. I choose different LDG. United Kingdom this time. Okay. Well, return. Save. Submit. Come back. Refresh. Okay. Done. So basically, you can have a two names. Okay. You can have a two name with a different LDG for the same type. Okay. Now let's see. We get into the detail of how we can use it. Now assume we have three different LDGs, US, India, UK, and they have a different element entries. So basically you have to create a three formulas to deal with that element entries. You call it element entry US, element entry India, element entry UK. And you have three formulas. The one easy way is when you are using a child formula, you can say that in a parent formula, like, you know, you can create them like a formula called f of child US, f of child India, f of child UK. And when the employee legislation, you check it, if they are if they are US employee, you can call that US child formula. Indian employee, you can call that Indian formula, and UK employee, you can call the UK first child formula. There's a better way of working. You can create all these three formulas in the same name. Okay, since we've seen that the LDG, like when you are defining your first formula for LDG, the names, the uniqueness goes with the LDG. So you can have a same name for a, like we call it, f of child. And all you can do is just f of child. You call f of child. You don't have to say that call India. You don't need to validate it. Just call f of child. Assume the f of child can call like a clan child formula, a common routine you can call that. Okay, that is up to you. The functionality you need. Just for example, I'm giving it a main formula called that a child formula, f of child, and f of child called the common formula, some routines. Now, how does it work? When that US employee is processed, the US employees cannot see that child formula from UK or India. It's not accessible. Even they can't see that it doesn't exist for them. So when the main first formula calls the child, they only call that US. So automatically you look at the US and the US formulas, or US child formulas called. The same way when the Indian employees, kind of like an employees process, they cannot see the child formula from US and UK. So even it calls f of child, it calls only the Indian child formula. Okay. So now, like one first formula that calls the child formula calls the like either process and goes back whichever it works. Okay. Now we see the functionalities or the methods, functions used it. There's something called is executable. That basically says is exist. It just checks whether the child formula exists. That's all. See that. So when you are when the US employee is coming, for them, the India and UK formula does not exist because they don't have access to that. Okay. Now you can call the formula in the two ways. Either you can call them execute or call formula. When you are calling the execute formula, that's a three-step formula. Okay. If you can set some input variables. The input variable also that the same syntax used for setting the context too. Either you can send some parameter, some additional value to the child by setting some input variables, or you can set the context. Then you can execute the formula. Then you can get the output by calling a get output using the exact variable which is passed by child formula or written by child formula. There's one more method called call formula. The call formula, all the three steps are included in as a parameter. It's a self-contained formula. Okay, the first parameter is the formula name. The second, basically you can have a second or third, whichever. The right arrow, which basically says output, is setting the output. And the other one, the left arrow, which is receiving the output. So when you're setting an input, hourly, basically hourly is that input name or a context name, the unit here is the value. And in the third line, this is hourly rate is a variable. It is a variable. And this is the variable written by pass formula, which holds the value. Okay, now this is as good as hourly rate equivalent to get output rate and the default value. The default value is here. This is how you can execute the pass formula. Now, what we do when we are writing a formula, we write three fast formulas, like a simple case and the legislative test case and the uh, um, using a different DBAs. Okay. And I'll stop this session here, and the next session we will see how we write the formula. Thank you. If you have any comments or a suggestion, let me know. If you like this tutorial, please like that. So I know that, okay, I'm not going to get anything out of that, but I know that like you like it or not. If you have any opinion, please let me know. Thank you.